am Dr. Noela Mogga. Welcome to the Dr. Noela Mogga Mentor Series. I am a practicing anesthesiologist working with Star Anesthesia in San Antonio, Texas. So today I will be discussing with June Nganga 6 important tips about how you too can become a medical doctor. Entering medical school in the United States is a long, arduous, gruesome application process.
Yes.
You don't just fall into it. So it requires meticulous planning, and so we want you to be empowered with all the information you need to enter medical school. So in order of importance, there are 6 things that you need to focus on. And June will go into detail with each of those things. So first is GPA, okay? 2, MCAT Score. 3, Letters of Recommendation. 4, Research Activities. 5, Extracurricular Activities, and those could include volunteer. And 6, the personal statement. So I'm going to turn over to June, and she's going to expand more on each of these topics. So the first one we'll talk about is your GPA score.
Okay. So these are like 6 things that are universally important. Like she's talked about, you'll have to have them on some sort on your application, except the research. That tends to vary depending on the school and also what kind of program you're looking at. So the first thing that she said, GPA, that's very important. So try to keep it as high as you can. I know sometimes it gets hard, but try to keep it as high as you can. One thing that caught me by surprise, you have your cumulative GPA, but you also have your science GPA. So that's something that I wasn't aware of early on. So also kind of keep track on that. You'll have to do that for medical school. There are 2 different GPAs. And then the next thing that she talked about, the MCAT. I took the old MCAT, and I took it twice. So if you do have a low MCAT, I would highly recommend going back and taking it again. And for the second time back, look back and think about how you studied for it the first time, and talk to people who have had very good MCAT scores and get their strategies, and then kind of modify your strategies according to that. I think for me, it was a game changer. Literally days after my second MCAT score was reported, a few points higher. I took the old MCAT, so it was more points. So less points, so a few points higher, and I was already starting to get interviews. So I think that does help a lot.
So it's interesting that June said she had to take the MCAT twice, because I also had to take it twice. And you know what happened was the first time I took it, the score wasn't really enough for me to be a good candidate. So when I took it again, it was the difference. It's really important that you do well on the MCAT.
Yeah.
How did you study differently when you took the MCAT the second time?
So studying differently the second time, I went to students who I know had done really well on the MCAT and kind of figured out what resources that they used. Also, the second time around, I got on a schedule. I think that's very important. The first time, since I wasn't on a schedule, I didn't really have a way of keeping track of exactly how efficient I was. So getting on a schedule, there are a lot of them online, and then just doing a lot of practice exams. The more AAMC practice materials you can use, I think those are really good because they're the test maker. So the more you practice with that, you kind of get into their head, and just taking a lot of practice exams. I think also part of the MCAT is endurance, and you won't know how well you can do taking a test for a couple of hours until you try yourself. So
8 hours to be exact.
Yeah, a whole day. So yeah, so that's a lot of endurance. Have your snacks. Yeah. So she also talked about, Dr. Mogga also talked about letters of recommendation. Those are important. I think they add to your applications, and they also speak about different aspects that may not be highlighted in your application. So for example, your research advisor, they could give more information about how you are in your research activities, and just provide more information about you. And then other things, in terms of getting letters of rec, start early. Whenever you're doing activities, figure out, oh, do I want to get a letter from this person or that person? With your professors, if you have some that you really click, start letting them know, oh, is it possible? Do you think you could write a good letter of me? Very important. Ask them if they could write a good letter. You want somebody who could speak very highly of you. And if they can't, then it may seem like something bad for you, but it's actually very good. It's important for you to have good letters. So ask your letter writers if they could write a good letter for you. The other thing in terms of letters, ways to get it, your extracurricular, your research activities, and your professors. And if you worked while you were in college, you could even get it from one of your employers.
So the fourth thing was research activities?
Okay. So research, it's not required, but it does help having some research on your belt. I think it's very important. Academic-wise, you're helping propagate new information out there. And it's also another good way for you to get a letter. You have more interaction with your research advisor doing research, and so that could also be another way for you to get a strong letter. So extracurricular activities, I think they're good. Just for me, what I did is I used to volunteer for things that I really enjoyed, and most of them ended up being with children. So focusing on things that you really like and enjoying. And it's funny, when you do your application, if you've been focusing on volunteering for things that you really like, you'll kind of start seeing a pattern. And so that will kind of also help you later on in the future. So just doing things that you really like and devoting your time to them. They also do really like longevity. So it's better to have like a few extracurricular activities that you've been doing for a long time, rather than little pinches of like, oh, I volunteered here, 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 here. So longevity, I think, is very important.
Right. I think adding on to that, it probably shows your commitment to something, because medicine is a long-term commitment.
Yes.
You're committing your whole life, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and last I had a personal statement.
Yeah. So that one is, it's a hard one to write. I'll give you that. So what I'll say is, as you're doing your application, that helps. And also, this is something, as you're doing your extracurricular activities, that helps too. I don't have like a way to write it. I think it's important to just sit down, write about things that you're interested in, and also look at the questions that they have. They can be different. So I applied in Texas, and so the questions for the Texas application were slightly different from the double AMC questions. So look at the questions and then brainstorm starting with that, and then have a couple of people look at your personal statement to help you with the editing.
So June, once again, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for talking with us.
Mm-hmm. It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Now, everyone, you are watching an episode of the Doctor Noela Mogga Mentor Series. So in this episode, June Nganga discussed with us 6 important points on how to get into medical school. Subscribe to my channel and see you soon for more videos.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. So now, we're done.
Yay.
So what we're going to do is